The former US president, running, of course, for President Donald Trump, today narrowly escaped a second assassination attempt. He was playing golf on his home course when the security detail, which was the hole in front of him, noticed a rifle sticking out of the bushes and started shooting, and the guy got away, but it was clear that he was setting up for some kind of assassination attempt. They saw the equipment there, which he didn't take with him. He just bolted, and they have found him. I think they've arrested him. But really concerning for the Trump camp. How does he campaign from here? What does he do? Where does he go? What does he say? And how much further does he expose himself on the road? When I say expose himself on the road, you could take that in all sorts of meanings, but you know what I mean. How does he engage on the road, and when's the next one coming? Real concern. Scott Optican, Associate Professor, Faculty of Law at Auckland University, and a specialist in Trump matters, I think it's fair to say, joins us now. Scott, g'day.
G'day, how are you?
Not too bad. Were you surprised there was someone set up today for potentially, allegedly, a second attempt at Trump's life?
Just first of all, I don't consider myself a specialty in Trump matters. I'm a law professor, but I have been following the election pretty closely. Yeah, look, I don't know if I'm surprised or not. And by the way, we don't know a lot of the facts about this yet. I mean, the FBI is treating it, and the Secret Service is treating it as an assassination attempt. But apparently the only shots fired were from the Secret Service. So we're going to have to find out exactly what the facts are. The Washington Post and other media outlets have been reporting that he was a Trump critic, that he was a supporter of the war in Ukraine, and apparently tried to get fighters to fight in Ukraine. But we don't really know much more about that. There was a GoPro camera found at the scene, so he attempted to film it. But whether it's a publicity stunt, he was actually intending to fire, we're going to have to find out. But he was apprehended sort of 45 Ks or so away, going down the motorway because someone, actually saw him running out of the bush and apparently took a picture of his license plate and reported it to the authorities. So they got him pretty quickly. So we're just going to have to find out a little bit more about the facts.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Was it an actual attempt or not?
That's a fair take on it too, because everyone's jumped to conclusions. So it's a fair take, I think, as well, because everybody jumped to conclusions and say, it's another assassination,
Yeah. You have to be really careful. I mean, it's interesting because the first assassination attempt on Trump, which clearly was, because the guy fired and hit him, everybody always was saying, well, that's political, it's this and that. Well, as it turns out, it's not clear that it was political at all. I mean, many acts of violence against politicians in the United States don't turn out to be political. They're just kind of people with grievances or, lonely, disturbed people that have access to weapons, and they have their own motivations for trying to do it, whether it's attention-seeking or something else. So we don't really know what this is going to turn out to be, but I expect we'll find out sort of in the days to come. I mean, one thing for sure, Trump's already fundraising off of it. I mean, he immediately sent out a tweet which said, they're trying to stop us by any ways possible. Don't let them do it. Send money to our campaign. So that's the way he played the first attempt as well. So he's immediately tries to turn it to his political advantage.
It may well be the best thing going for his campaign, that this sort of thing is happening, because there's certainly an interest in him, and clearly they have to be very careful because there's still some way to go in this campaign. What's your take on that? He needs to be careful where he goes and how he operates from here, doesn't he?
Well, I mean, so after the first attempt in Pennsylvania, they increased his security. His security is still not as significant as that of the current president, right? Which is, you would understand that because obviously the people, Biden, who's actually the president, would have more security around him than someone who was just a presidential candidate. But I expect they'll review his security again. I mean, I have been reading a little bit today. It is very difficult to secure golf courses. The guy likes to golf, and there's a lot. It's tricky, to secure a golf course. I mean, it just is. And the Secret Service was trying to get Trump to stop doing outdoor rallies after the first assassination attempt, and he said he wouldn't, which I understand. So they've got to put more measures in place. But I mean, look, the real issue here, of course, is a larger discussion about the way violence and political violence has seeped into election discourse, in the United States, and the appropriate reaction to this sort of thing, and how we sort of deal with it going forward. And I include in that discussions about what happened in January 6th, 4 years ago, because that also was an act of political violence. So it's a problem that we're starting to face more in American elections, and I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon.
No, and if that's the case, then we're talking about the most serious threat to a politician's life is, of course, an assassination attempt, isn't it? So if that's going to be normalised, then what sort of access will the public get to people like Trump? And what will his advice be? What will he have to do? I mean, because it raises all those questions, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But I also would like to point out that political violence sweeps more broadly than just violence against the candidates. I mean, you may have been following the debate over the discussions in the last couple of days, almost all of it, incorrect and lies about, Haitian immigrants supposedly eating cats and dogs and geese in Springfield, Ohio, even though all the city officials have been saying it's been, completely debunked. But, Trump is spreading those lies, and J.D. Vance is seconding it, as is right-wing social media. And, that's actually causing a backlash, predictably, against lawful Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio. There's already been bomb threats in schools and various other things. So the political violence can also be, aimed at what these candidates or who these candidates put out to be their, sort of their political enemies or their talking points or how they want to rally their base around certain issues. That can actually have, real consequences as well. It was the same thing, in the run-up to January 6th. We had election workers who were, singled out, completely wrongly and unfairly by Trump and members of the campaign who were subjected to all sorts of threats. And so, the political violence is not just about the candidates. It's also comes from the words that the candidates say and can be visited on, completely innocent third parties, as we're seeing what's happening now in Springfield, and we saw what happened in the run-up to January 6th.
And that's why it's so important to fact check. There's so much fact checking that goes on during the debates and whatever speeches and so forth. But it's really up to the speech maker or the politician's personal credibility and respect for the truth and for sort of a decent society. And if they're going to go and do what Trump did, it just stirs the pot, doesn't it? It's just completely wrong.
Well, but that's the point. Well, that's the point, though. He's trying to. You see, whether or not he knows it's a lie, I suppose is an open question, but it really doesn't matter because it's repeating these untruths is a way of rallying the base and getting funding and getting attention and distracting, from your own deficits as a candidate. So that's what it's about. And that's why they stoke it. And that's why they repeat it. It has political advantages to them, or they see so, in their campaign, but it has real consequences for real people.